KUGAN, CASSIUS, IFL TV, Everlast.
You're a pest, you are.
Why?
Because you're having a nice conversation, and then you see something that might be a bit juicy, and you just pop,
stand up,
you know.
Peter's going to think, look at that.
You just pop up. Oh, can I just do a bit? You know.
Yeah, why not?
Sort of ruin the social occasion.
That's why you got me here, mate. So
Is that right?
That's
yeah?
right.
Okay.
That's right. Last minute opponent for Savannah, which is not always ideal, but she's still
we were
fighting.
just saying a better fight. You know, Herman's is a little bit. She moves a lot. She's sometimes doesn't engage, whereas Maria's just comes fit and been at the highest level fighting world championship opposition. Will come to fight, and she'll be there for as long as she can, 10 rounds possibly. And I think it's going to be what Savannah needs, because you know you've got big fights coming up, and she needs that professional experience. So the general conversation before you butted in was we're really pleased with the opponent. And again, shout out to Maria Lindberg, because if not, we would have had to make the dreaded call to say it's May, and she's had enough postponements. So glad we got it sorted.
Come in a bit, Savannah. No one likes that dreaded phone call. You didn't get it, so we spoke about this the other day. It was not the ideal situation, but you are fighting, and Eddie's saying it's a tougher fight, and I'm sure Peter agrees as well.
Yeah, it is. It is. She's boxed at world level a number of times. She said just in the press conference she's had 3 times as many fights as me, so she's really experienced, and like you were just saying there, for me, it's a good opponent as well, but she's more on the back foot. She's not as aggressive and a bit unorthodox. So to be honest, it's worked out for the best.
So let's get to it. This is pretty much the Claressa Shields fan club here. She's a fan of all you people. Eddie, after this fight, she comes through it.
Yeah, listen, I'm a fan of Claressa Shields. I think she rubs people up the wrong way. I don't think she always comes across particularly likeable, but you have to respect what she's achieved. You know, I never really. Although as big as my ego is, I don't think I'd call myself the greatest promoter of all time. So to call yourself the greatest woman of all time,
you wouldn't refer to yourself as the greatest promoter of all time.
No, I mean you can, and I might agree with you, but I wouldn't put it at the end of every tweet. Do you know what I mean? So, in all seriousness, that's she's going to behave how she wants to behave. I have a lot of respect for her. I think she's a fantastic fighter. I think she's done amazing for the female game. She just doesn't go 10 rounds with Savannah Marshall. Honestly, I will back to the hills that she will not just beat her, she will stop her, right? And I know that 2-minute rounds, she's the hardest punching female, I think, pound for pound in boxing. When you watch Savannah Marshall box live, especially in the bubble, behind closed doors, you hear it. Hannah Rankin's tough as they come. She couldn't stand up to the power, honestly. And I want to make that fight so badly.
Peter, do you echo these feelings and thoughts? Won't go 10 rounds. Claressa Shields will be stopped by Savannah Marshall. Do you echo those thoughts?
It's quite possible. Eddie is right what he says about the power she's got. She can hit. She's the hardest puncher in female boxing. Whether Claressa can stand up to it or not, it's another matter. I have said in the past, the more lighter the punches, the more resistance they are, because Claressa Shields is not punchy whatsoever. So she's got nothing to trouble Savannah with like that. So Savannah will be able to get them heavy shots off. So Eddie could be right on this one.
Your thoughts on your promoter and your trainer?
It's just my personal opinion.
Peter's the gaffer, and I trust him 1,000,000%, and I believe in what he says.
But is it a case of if it doesn't happen this year, it's unlikely to happen?
I've got to say, shout out to Mark Taffet and Dimitri. The talks have been good. We've had several calls about it. We've got to report those back to the team. But I'm open to all kinds of suggestions. 2 fights, 1 in the UK, 1 in America, 1 fight. But I really want to make that fight, because Savannah's going to get to a point. I think Savannah is 1 or 2 fights away from her peak of her powers in a pro game, right? And that fight is the biggest fight. It's one of the biggest fights in boxing, let alone women's boxing. And it's not going to come around, not going to be around forever and ever. But that's why I like this fight on Saturday, because I think she needs rounds. And it's all very well Claressa saying, you're saying you need a round. She's had her rounds, she's had her experience. But for me, that is a fight I would absolutely love to make this year. definitely this year. Whether she gets one more in after this, and we've got to take care of business on Saturday. Because sometimes when you start thinking about all these big fights, but how can you not want that fight, you know? And imagine the build-up. Because Savannah's quite quiet, silent assassin, you know what I mean? And Claressa's quiet as well, isn't she? You know, imagine the press conference.
But
I want to see Peter going at it with Dimitri Salita. I'd back Peter all day in that one.
we saw Peter against David Higgins years ago.
That was a no contest.
Yeah, but that's why I said he's only just big.
Yeah, so Salita, don't worry. But he can fight, Dimitri, that's the problem.
Well, we'll just leave me out of that
Yeah.
one.
But we see what kind of Claressa, more so with you, she kind of goes on these rants on Twitter, but I think she thinks you're probably all right, and you don't really say a negative word about her.
Again, I say, but I think sometimes there's this big thing at the moment, isn't it, about women have got to get paid what they deserve. Couldn't agree more, right? And I keep saying it's not about female, it's about male. It's about the individual value of a certain fight. So she did her last fight on pay-per-view. Whatever numbers that generated, that was the value of that fight, right? Savannah Marshall against Claressa Shields is a different kettle of fish. The value of that fight versus the value of Shields against Decarie or Shields against Hammer, not even close. That's when you get a fight of equal value, so male and female, they have to be paid the same amount of money for the size of the fight and the money that it generates. That's equality. It's not, that they should get the same money as that fight if that fight is worth so much more than that fight. So if Claressa Shields and Savannah Marshall has more value than a men's fight, they should be getting more money than the men. But it's not just a standard procedure. You don't get fighters on the bill this week all getting the same amount of money. Some fights have more value than others, and therefore the pay is different. But what we have to push for in women's boxing is that when there's the same value between the men and the women, everybody gets the same money. And that doesn't always happen. But we are getting there, slowly. But that's a fight where you can pay real money to both. And that's ultimately, Savannah, as much as she loves the sport, as much as she wants to go and win world titles, she wants to create a financial future for herself and her family and generations over. That's why we're in the game. It's a dangerous sport. And they're the kind of fights that can do it. Maybe outdoors in the northeast would be nice.
You should really pull your finger out and get it delivered, mate.
Like I said, shout out to Mark Taffet and Dimitri. I believe they want the fight. And, let's get through Saturday first because we want to look good Saturday.
Yeah.
Because
I'm not going to ask you any more about Shields because you have got a fight on Saturday and we'll hold a little bit of respect for that. But afterwards, we'll talk about that. Got anything else you want to add?
No, it sounds good to me.
All right, well, listen, roll on tomorrow night.
Lindberg first, then we'll talk Shields.
Thank you.